We've been playing these 10 games a lot for the past few years, and I have some genuinely controversial takes brewing here.
Controversial? That's one way to describe what's essentially let's tell people their favorite games are mediocre. But yeah, these are the high-rated games that everyone keeps telling us to play, and we kept hitting the same wall with them.
Exactly. And we're not saying they're bad, that's not it at all. It's more that Board Game Geek ratings don't always match what actually happens when you sit down and play these things repeatedly.
Right, so let's dig into what we actually discovered when we spent way too many nights testing these 10 supposedly amazing games.
Let's start with a classic that still gets 4,000 plus live concurrent games on Board Game Arena, Catan, because that one surprised us the most. When we first played it, the excitement was immediate. You roll 2 dice, they determine which resource hexes produce that turn, you build settlements and cities, and you're trading with other players constantly. The trading mechanic felt like the heart of it.
Yeah, and in our early games, that was genuinely engaging. The negotiation around who gets what resources felt social and dynamic. But here's where it fell apart for us. After maybe 5 or 6 sessions, the dice variance became absolutely brutal. We had entire games where certain players just never rolled the numbers their settlements bordered. One person would get 8 resources in a turn while someone else got 0.
And the robber mechanic, which should add tension, just became a king-making tool. Once people understood the game, everyone ganged up on whoever was ahead. It stopped being strategic and started being let's all punish the leader. Plus that opening placement phase, whoever got the lucky 6 and 8 settlements in the first round basically won already.
The development cards were weird too. You'd hoard them chasing the largest army card, and then you'd draw victory point cards when you desperately needed knights, or you'd get the same type of progress card repeatedly. With only 2 road building cards and 2 Year of Plenty cards in the entire deck, the distribution felt frustrating rather than strategic. In our experience, Catan's rating reflects nostalgia and how many people it introduced to modern gaming, which is legitimate, but the actual depth? We found it wasn't there once you've played it 10 times.
Moving to something completely different, Splendor. This game looked like it would be brilliant. Clean mechanics, elegant engine-building loop, gem tokens you're collecting to buy development cards that reduce future costs. In our first couple sessions, there was real satisfaction watching your engine accelerate.
But then we realized something uncomfortable. There's basically 0 interaction with other players. You're building your own engine in isolation. The only interactive move is blocking, reserving a card someone else needs, and you gain a gold token, Joker, when doing so, though it uses your entire turn action. Everyone's just optimizing their own tableau, and whoever gets lucky with card distribution and hits their combo first wins.
Right, and the optimal strategy became apparent incredibly fast. Buy cheap cards early to enable expensive ones. Trigger nobles incidentally. Don't overextend on gems. After our third game, experienced players and beginners were making identical moves. The learning curve goes from 0 to flat instantly. Nobles are this weird afterthought that triggers automatically by accident, rather than through deliberate planning, though whether that's a flaw or feature probably depends on your perspective.
We think Splendor works great as a gateway game because it explains engine building without overwhelming people, but calling it strategically rich? That's where the rating misleads you. In our experience, it's novelty packaged as depth.
Okay, contrast that with Azul, which is basically the opposite problem. It's such a clean puzzle that in our experience, it solves itself. You've got these pattern lines creating a Sudoku-like constraint, you're drafting colored tiles from factories, and once a row fills, you move the rightmost tile to your wall and discard the rest.
The visual feedback is satisfying, I'll give it that. Placing tiles and watching your pattern emerge feels genuinely rewarding, but after maybe 10 plays, we realized it felt less like a strategy game and more like executing a predetermined solution. Optimal play becomes obvious. Take the color that progresses your highest pattern line toward completion.
Right, and the initial tile distribution matters way too much. You can't influence which colors appear on factories. Players who get favorable distributions early just win despite everyone playing identically. The wall's structure removes meaningful decisions because once you've placed a couple tiles, the rest of your decisions are basically determined.
Azul's 7.5+ rating reflects a claim for accessibility and elegance, but that's treating visual clarity like strategic depth. For us, it's a pretty puzzle, and once solved, replays feel like variations on the same answer.
Let's talk 5 tribes, because that one felt fresh at first. You're doing this Mancala movement distributing meeples across a grid, and the final meeple has to land on a tile with the same tribe color. Then you're triggering different tribe effects. Merchants let you take resource cards from the market, builders give you gold coins, viziers give you victory points.
The bidding system was really clever too. You're bidding coins for turn order, but those coins are also victory points at game's end. Spending coins to go first costs you endgame scoring. In our early sessions, that created real tension. But in our later games, we felt the strategy hardened significantly.
Yeah, because it seemed to us there's basically one dominant path to winning. Secure djinn cards early, those unlock powerful cascading effects. Accumulate gold-producing builders, hoard coins for endgame. Trying to win through alternative routes, like collecting viziers, consistently underperformed in our games. The diverse-looking scoring paths aren't actually equally viable.
And the Mancala movement, which should be this elegant spatial puzzle, creates frustrating constraints. When your final meeple has to land on a tile with that tribe's color, you're frequently forced into suboptimal activations or triggering opponent scoring. The puzzle becomes constraint-satisfaction rather than creative problem-solving.
Ticket to Ride was shocking to revisit because we grew up on this game. You're drawing train cards, claiming colored routes, completing destination tickets for points. The longest route bonus creates that narrative tension in endgames.
But here's the problem. We found there's no real strategy after your first play. Optimal play is purely tactical. Claim long routes early, block opponents from critical paths, complete your tickets. The decision tree is shallow. After evaluating 3 options, you'll consistently choose the same action.
Train card variance dominates everything. Drawing locomotives from the blind deck can feel incredibly lucky. Hitting 4 blues in a row when you're chasing a blue route feels like destiny. We watched experienced players lose consistently to newcomers simply because the latter got better card luck. That's not strategic depth.
Route claiming becomes a race condition rather than strategy. Once everyone understands optimal routes, games devolve into claim your route before someone else. In our experience, skill matters way less than people think, and repeated plays feel mechanical rather than competitive.
Dominion invented deck building, which was legitimately revolutionary. But man, we found it doesn't hold up for us. You're starting with 7 copper and 3 estates, buying better cards that improve your future draws, creating this accelerating feedback loop.
That innovation was stunning initially, but after a dozen plays, we hit a wall. The big money strategy is transparent and narrow. You basically buy silver and gold coins to accelerate province purchasing. Every other approach, building elaborate action card engines, chasing complex interactions, consistently underperformed the boring economic acceleration in our games.
Right, and the fundamental issue is that it's profoundly solitaire. You're building your deck in isolation. Your opponent's purchases don't affect your strategy at all. We started playing our turns simultaneously while talking about something else. The competition is entirely imaginary.
The action card variety feels thematic, but mechanically context-dependent. Cards like Smithy can be powerful in engine-building decks that chain actions together, but they often underperform silver coins in simple money strategies. Market sounds efficient, but doesn't accelerate province purchasing faster than pure coin accumulation. We felt the whole deck builder concept was solved relatively quickly, though competitive communities might disagree.
Stone Age sounded promising on paper. You're placing workers on resource tracks, rolling dice equal to the number of workers, dividing the total to get resources. Like pushing your luck about how many workers to commit to a track felt genuinely tense.
But the dice variance is catastrophic. We've rolled 4 dice and gotten totals of 4, which rounds down to 0 resources when collecting gold. Meanwhile, other players rolled 20 plus and got multiple resources. That's not tension, that's chaos. Once you understand that certain worker placements are mathematically risky, like placing workers on the gold track where you divide by 6, the push your luck framing evaporates.
Yeah, and that feeding mechanic where you pay 1 food per worker every round, it felt to us like pure busywork. Though to be fair, the agriculture track creates a strategic choice. Invest in agriculture to free workers for high-value resources, or dedicate workers to hunting each round. You must pay food or lose 10 points, which adds a planning layer. Whether this creates meaningful decisions or just feels like accounting probably depends on how you value worker management puzzles.
In our playthroughs, we'd place the same number of workers in the same locations every turn after a handful of plays. The game has a transparent optimal strategy that removed replay motivation for us as experienced players.
Let's talk about Codenames, because this one's weird. It's a team deduction game where spy masters give one-word clue plus a number, and teammates guess which Codenames cards match from the 25-card grid.
The social glue is genuine. Watching teammates wildly misinterpret your clue or nail an obscure connection never gets old. The party game energy is real. But here's the uncomfortable truth. We felt there's practically zero strategy once a clue is given. Correct guesses are often obvious to everyone.
Right, and replayability depends entirely on new word combinations. After 20 games, you've internalized most clue word associations. Paris associates with Hilton, France, and Texas in your head. Your clues converge toward generic associations, and the freshness dissolves.
The board luck matters too. A board with limited association words like fire and bank is brutally hard to clue for. A board with multi-meaning words becomes trivial. We've had games where team luck mattered more than spymaster creativity.
Codenames rating reflects, "This is an excellent party game," rather than, "This is strategically engaging." Those aren't the same thing. Party games don't require depth, they require fun. Codenames delivers fun brilliantly.
But many BGG voters seem to have conflated social enjoyment with mechanical richness. It's a word association game that creates memorable moments, not a strategy game. Neither fact diminishes its value, but people need to understand the distinction.
Wingspan is gorgeous. We're not going to pretend those bird illustrations aren't stunning and those egg tokens aren't charming.
But component beauty shouldn't drive strategy ratings. That's where Wingspan's 8+ rating becomes problematic. You're building bird sanctuaries through tableau building, paying food or eggs to play birds, triggering effects on birds already in your habitat.
The opening card distribution felt brutally swingy to us. If you draw high-value birds or powerful engine cards, you're winning regardless of subsequent decisions. If you draw inefficient, high-cost birds, you're competing uphill. We watched the same player win 3 games in a row simply because they kept drawing premium birds while others got filler.
And the engine metaphor is overstated. Playing a bird that lets you draw a card doesn't create meaningful acceleration. Your turns feel identical game to game. The promised cascading effects mostly fail to materialize. Bonus cards trivialize strategy too. Once revealed, optimal play becomes transparent in our experience.
Yeah, you chase whichever bonus you hit first and ignore everything else. If the bonus rewards birds under 20 centimeters, you buy every small bird, regardless of point value. The strategy is determined before the game starts. Laying eggs is one of 4 action choices each turn. Play birds, gain food, draw cards, or lay eggs. But we found the decision-making becomes rote after several plays.
Wingspan's 8+ rating represents component quality and thematic appeal, not strategic depth. For us, it's one of BGG's most egregious category conflations, where gorgeous doesn't mean strategically excellent.
Seven Wonders promised simultaneous play drafting, creating non-obvious decision-making. You're simultaneously selecting one card from a hand of cards, revealing it, then passing remaining cards.
The illusion of hidden information was supposed to create meaningful tension, but once we understood the card pools and optimal strategies, simultaneously revealing became predictable to us. Everyone's making the same moves based on visible board state and known cards.
The resource system is extremely forgiving, too. You can purchase any resource from neighbors for 2 coins. Resource scarcity never forces real decisions, because you'll always have access at a predictable cost. The strategic decision, do I build a resource producer, simplifies to, is the resource cheaper than 2 coins? The math is trivial.
And military seemed mathematically less impactful than other paths in our games. You're comparing strength with both neighbors each age. 1 point in age 1, 3 in age 2, 5 in age 3 for victories, and -1 for each defeat. The maximum swing is -6 to +18 points across all 3 ages with 2 neighbors. While that's not trivial in games often decided by 10 to 20-point margins, we found spending cards on red military structures was almost universally inferior to playing high-point blue civic structures or pursuing science. Science cards dominate because doubling down on the same symbol becomes increasingly efficient. The scoring is exponential. One symbol equals 1 point, two identical symbols equal 4 points, 3 equal 9, 4 equals 16.
If you hit 2 science cards early, you're committed to the science path. Other players recognizing this can't meaningfully block you because they'd need to draft science cards they don't want. Science players usually win unless they draw terrible cards in our experience.
Seven Wonders presents itself as a game of hidden information and surprising drafting choices. The reality for us is that once players understand optimal strategies, simultaneously revealing becomes routine. The game solves itself within a dozen plays.
So here's the thing that ties all these together. These games have high ratings for legitimate reasons. They introduced innovations, they're accessible, they create memorable moments, they have beautiful components. None of those things are bad.
But here's what we discovered from dozens of sessions. BGG's rating system struggles with distinguishing between this is an excellent party game and this offers repeated strategic depth. Accessibility isn't the same as complexity. Beautiful components aren't the same as mechanical richness. Memorable first plays aren't the same as longevity.
These games are genuinely excellent gateways. Several have beautiful components. Several create memorable moments. But experienced players who've played them 15 times will hit a wall where optimal strategy becomes obvious. The variance dominates or the interaction disappears. At least that's been our experience.
If you're brand new to modern board gaming, many of these are fantastic entry points. They teach mechanics painlessly and generate fun. But if you're looking for genuine strategic challenge that deepens across dozens of plays, step past the high-rated classics. The games still discovering their strategic depths aren't the ones that already found their canonical status.
That's our take on the 10 most overrated board games. Thanks for joining us while we geeked out about games we've been obsessed with. We're Board Game Critique, and we'll see you in the next one.